Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight, a traveling doctor brings gender-diverse healthcare to Windsor. Plus, as an Ontario court rules against Bill 124, Premier Ford says he's not backing down on his plans to appeal. It's World AIDS Day. A look at how the disease affects our city today. And a Windsor Symphony Orchestra tradition makes a comeback tonight. We'll tell you all about it. We begin tonight with a doctor who has been driving across southwestern Ontario to bring more timely medical care to the trans community, something Windsor's gender-diverse community says it needs. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reports.
The biggest issue always is the wait times.
Nona Abdallah, a trans woman and gender fluid person, knows that timing is everything when someone is questioning their gender identity. But a big demand for care means people could wait months or years to get hormone medication to begin transitioning.
When you don't know who you are, when people are calling you a name that you don't like, it's sort of like you're disconnected. You know, you're disconnected from yourself, you're disconnected from the world.
Dr. Ian Johnston hopes to help. Since March, he's been making the trek from Chatham-Kent to Windsor to run a youth gender diversity clinic.
The number of teens and children looking for care far outstrips the capacity.
He provides hormone medication and follow-up treatment to people 18 and younger. He says he's the only doctor offering this sort of care to people younger than 16 in Windsor. So far, he's had about 15 clients.
It takes time to get the word out. You can imagine if you're a 13 or 14-year-old individual who's questioning their gender, you don't automatically know where to go or who to talk to or who to contact. And even beyond that, many healthcare professionals don't know, the routes to take to access gender-affirming care.
No clear path to get care is one large barrier that the community told me about. Another is that family doctors are sending people elsewhere to get hormone medication, but in Ontario, they can prescribe it themselves. And people also say that doctors just seem hesitant to treat this community.
Anytime you're dealing with something where you don't have a lot of experience, you feel a little bit uncomfortable. The second is that it is an important issue and one where there's often a lot of emotion around it.
Johnston hopes his clinic encourages doctors to get trained and shows that more resources are needed in smaller Ontario communities. Meanwhile, Trans Wellness Ontario says ideally it would like to see a hub come to the region that offers a one-stop shop for those in the trans community. Until then, Abdallah says they will continue to support people in the best way that they can.
I try to tell my clients is like there's more to transitioning, there's more to being trans than taking hormones. It's one part of it, and it's an important part of it. But try to start living your life as you want to live.
Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
It's World AIDS Day. The United Nations estimates more than 38 million people are living with HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, and it reports 1.5 million new infections in 2021. U.S. President Joe Biden addressed the global effort to end the spread of the disease today during a visit to Washington by French President Emmanuel Macron.
And on this World AIDS Day, we reaffirm our shared commitment to end the AIDS epidemic by 2030.
The theme for World AIDS Day this year is Equalize. It's meant to draw attention to the unequal impact of the disease around the world. In India, sex trade workers from South Asia's largest red light district took to the streets to drive home the point. In a statement, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau encouraged everyone to challenge the inequalities, misconceptions, and stigma surrounding HIV/AIDS. Here in Windsor, Essex, the number of those being diagnosed with HIV has plateaued. While that's good news, there's still a disconnect between diagnosis and treatment. Stacey Janzer has more.
There we go. The community gathered at Charles Clark Square to watch the World AIDS Day flag fly. Locally, 8 people this year have contracted HIV. 2 people were diagnosed with AIDS. The Windsor-Essex County Health Unit says the numbers are plateauing. Positive Pathways says there's still a lag between diagnosis and treatment in marginalized communities.
There are barriers that are in place in terms of how these populations are accessing support and care.
Positive Pathways is working with the African, Caribbean, and Indigenous populations to figure out what those barriers are and to work together to make things more accessible for them. Another issue remains.
Stigma is one of the largest barriers in terms of accessing care. You compound that with criminalization, racialization, and discrimination. That makes it even more harder to access support.
He says to combat that, the healthcare system and social services need to be designed in a way that is culturally competent and allows for greater accessibility.
And that the service providers understand what their needs are, and then address those needs in a very specific way.
We could truly prevent the spread of this as long as we're aware, we understand how to prevent it, that we have the medication involved, and we can grant access, but most importantly, non-stigmatized access for these individuals to be able to get that care that they need.
Although there is work to be done, Brennan says for those newly diagnosed, there's a lot of hope.
That it is not a death sentence today. Treatment has come such a long way. Not to be overly fearful. The support services here in our community, either from our agency or from the Tecumseh Bing Clinic at Windsor Regional Hospital, are very supportive for people. So we'll help you through that process at the end of the day.
Stacey Janzer, CBC News, Windsor.
Earlier this week, a court ruled that a government bill to limit wages for some healthcare workers in Ontario is unconstitutional. Today was the first time Premier Doug Ford faced reporters since a justice struck down the legislation. Ford says he supports workers, but that he will also appeal the decision. Queen's Park reporter Lorenda Redekop has more.
I think the world of our frontline healthcare workers.
Premier Doug Ford responded to a question on continuing the legal fight against the Bill 124 ruling. It followed a photo op announcing more funding to pay nurses to upskill to work in critical care.
I just want to thank them. Yes, we're going to appeal. My hands are tied on what I can say. It's in front of the courts right now. We just look forward to the Court of Appeal because there's precedent throughout the country that they ruled another way. So I'm just trying to rationalize why the ruling came down the way it was.
In one case, Manitoba's appeal court ruled in favor of the government there and its controversial wage freeze bill.
This case is very important to the government's position. I think the government does face an uphill burden, not to say that it's an impossible burden, particularly given the precedents that have been set in other jurisdictions.
Bill 124 limits wage increases for public sector workers, including nurses, at 1% a year. And when the judge overturned it,
my phone just exploded with nurses doing the happy dance.
The NDP's health critic is frustrated with the government's plans to appeal.
I thought Bill 124 was in the garbage and I wanted to stay there.
The opposition criticized this comment yesterday by the health minister.
In fact, we have not seen a mass exodus of nurses leaving the system.
The government cites a figure showing overall numbers of RNs are up. The NDP says that's not the whole story, that many still have their license but are no longer working in hospitals. The head of Canada's largest hospital network says here's what they normally see.
We'd have about 200 vacancies churning. At the peak, we had up to 600 vacancies, and at the moment, we're working around 400 vacancies. And so we have not seen a mass, quote-unquote, exodus.
That's not something to be proud of. And if that's the number of vacancies that they have as one of the best resource hospitals in the country, imagine what it's like for community hospitals, for rural and remote hospitals.
As for Bill 124, the Premier says if the courts rule against his government, he will not use the notwithstanding clause to keep it in place. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
There's a reason we call it Sounds of the Season. Music is one of the big ways people celebrate this time of year, and a holiday tradition is set to return to the city tonight. The Windsor Symphony Orchestra will be performing its holiday concert series at Assumption Church for the first time since before the pandemic began. It'll be Handel's Messiah, and it starts in about an hour's time. Monica Bundy is with the WSO, and she joins us now live from the church. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, thanks so much for having us.
Monica, how does it feel to have this tradition back in action tonight?
Oh, you have no idea. It feels so good. We're all so excited to be here. The patrons are excited. We're just ready to get back to, performing Handel's Messiah. It's the most beautiful concert that we have, and it literally kicks off our holiday season.
For somebody who hasn't experienced it before, what is it like? What can people expect to hear and enjoy tonight?
Well, it's just so beautiful. A few of the songs are For Unto Us a Child is Born, the absolutely stunning Hallelujah. We have a soprano coming in to sing. It's just going to be a beautiful experience, and it literally will kick off your holiday spirit. It just puts us all in an amazing mood.
So tickets are still available for tonight's show, of course, but if people miss it, when can they catch it again?
Well, tonight, you're right, there are still some tickets available. So if you're in the neighborhood, swing on by the Assumption Church. The concert starts at 7:30. Tomorrow, we're in Leamington at 7:30, and then St. Anne's Church in Tecumseh on Sunday. So all three beautiful churches, beautiful venues, just acoustic gems.
And what else should people know about how the Windsor Symphony Orchestra is going to be marking the holidays over the next several weeks?
Well, we're excited to partner with CBC on the Sounds of the Season food campaign. And so at all of our concerts coming up between the Windsor Symphony Orchestra and the Capitol Theatre, we're hoping that everybody will bring in a canned good, and we're going to collect those during the upcoming events that we have at both the Capitol and any events where the Windsor Symphony Orchestra is performing. So if you're headed into the Capitol, I know they've got so many events coming up in the next few weeks. Bring a canned good and let's literally fill up the lobby. We've got a beautiful tree set up and the bins behind me. We're going to bring those back to the Capitol Theatre, and we just hope that they're full by the end of the campaign.
Well, we really appreciate your partnership and appreciate seeing the donation bin right over your shoulder there. Thanks for this, Monica.
Yep. Yeah, thanks so much, Katerina.
That's Monica Bundy with the Windsor Symphony Orchestra. The show starts at 7:30 at Assumption Church, and those bins will be at the Capitol Theatre for folks to drop off donations for the next 3 weeks after tonight. And there are more ways to help. CBC Windsor has officially kicked off our Sounds of the Season campaign, where we will be collecting food and donations, as you heard, for local area food banks. And we will be holding special shows here at CBC on December 15th, and you are invited to come watch us live here at our studio. We'll have live musical guests, some prize giveaways, and much more. So mark the date on your calendars, come pay us a visit, and if you can, bring some non-perishables that we can add to our donation bin. And for more information, check out cbc.ca/Windsor. Canada's men's soccer team is coming home from the World Cup with an 0-3 record. But that's still enough for a place in this country's sports history books. The team played its third and final match today and was defeated 2-1 by Morocco. Still, they did score the first ever World Cup goal for the men's team and have raised expectations for the sport in Canada. CBC's Thomas Daigle has the story.
Go Canada! Woo!
Think of it as a peek into Canada's soccer future. Glory on the biggest stage is out of reach for now, but fans are still eager to cheer.
It's a history. Yeah, we've been a part of history.
It gives hope for the next generation as well.
Canada!
Miriam McDuff hopes her son, Anderson Arthur, will see Canada reach new heights in his lifetime.
From the time we were qualifying all the matches, when I was pregnant, we were there, and now he's here, 6 months old.
From kickoff, fans watched the mighty Moroccans take it to Canada. Goalkeeper Milan Borjan accidentally gave away the ball and a goal in just the 4th minute. Then the Moroccans struck again. Canada's Sam Adekupe responded with a shot deflected by a Moroccan player, allowing Canada to score. There were agonizingly close calls for Canada, but in the end, Morocco won 2-1.
How do you feel? Very disappointed.
For Canada's supporters and the team itself, it's time to go home. Earlier than they'd hoped, with only losses.
Against 3 of the best teams in the world, they did their best, and we're happy for them.
I hope they got a lot of experience out of this.
With several promising young players, the squad expects its best days are ahead of them. And what about head coach John Herdman? After elevating Canada's women and men, he may now be fielding new offers from abroad.
Will John Herdman be head coach at the World Cup in 2026?
He will. He will. Yeah.
You can guarantee that?
Well, I can guarantee that I want John to be the head coach in 2026.
In less than 4 years, Canada gets an added advantage with the World Cup coming home. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Doha.
A look outside now. It'll be partly cloudy tonight with a mix of sun and cloud tomorrow. Colette Kennedy will be here after the break with your weather forecast. Colette Kennedy joins us now for a look at our weather forecast. And Colette, before we get into the immediate forecast, we're getting some more information about what the next few months might look like.
Right. So before we get to the meteorology, here's a little bit of climatology is another way that we can put it. This is the outlook for winter. So it's December, January, February in terms of what they're looking at here from Environment Canada. And it goes by probabilities, and it looks at kind of a 30-year period from 1991 to 2020. So just keeping all of that in mind. These are sort of the areas with the highest probability of being colder and wetter than normal. So in the west, we see what the possibilities are. And I know what you want to see is what about around the Great Lakes? Well, it is, in their opinion, going to be, and looking at the data, that it will be milder through the Great Lakes, wetter to the north, and in parts of Atlantic Canada. The only thing I'd say, and they are considering it's a La Nina year, so this is our third La Nina year here, triple dip as we call it, is that often we get on the storm track. So you may want to be thinking wet, perhaps more so than mild, although the mild, of course, would be nice. We'll kind of see how it all plays out here. All right, current temperatures are not mild. No, we are looking at 0 in Windsor, -3 in Chatham-Kent, -5 in London, and Sarnia below freezing as well. The winds have backed off finally. They're not going to stay there. In fact, if you look at what happens overnight tonight, they'll be picking up from more of a southerly direction. And with those strong winds, it's going to push our temperatures back in the other direction again. So these ups and downs of the week, but also the ups and downs within a day that we tend to see. So satellite imagery is quiet now, but as we get into the latter part of the day on Friday, that's when we'll see a few shower possibilities, and then more so Friday night into Saturday morning, a better chance. Nothing too crazy here, but what will be stronger, again, are the winds. They shouldn't last for as long, though, as we just experienced between yesterday and today. And then the system moves through pretty quickly. I'd expect by the afternoon, this is later on Saturday evening, but even by the afternoon we'll be cleared out other than a few flurries because of the falling temperatures. Wind chill tonight, -7, so the temperatures fall just a little bit. The wind's back off, but it still equals out, puts us about there. But up to 8 tomorrow, climbing to 6 for the low, so it'll be almost nearly steady. But Saturday up to 10, that's likely early. Again, harder to take advantage of, and then the rain moves out and the temperatures will fall down again. So that there are those ups and downs. But if you want mild, we got a couple of days of that. In your meteorology.
Something to look forward to. I love it. Thanks for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, we will tell you about a push to preserve wooden grain elevators in the prairies. Stay with us.
free.
Welcome back. The Prime Minister officially launched the government's new child dental benefit today for low-income families.
Our government will help parents pay dental expenses for their kids with up to $1,300 over the next 2 years.
Families earning less than $90,000 a year can now claim up to $650 per child in dental benefits. The Canada Revenue Agency is handling the program, and Trudeau says the government is on track to implement a long-term plan. The NDP pushed for the dental care plan along with sick day guarantees, all as part of a deal to support the minority Liberals until 2025. I want to share with you a really interesting story about the iconic wooden grain elevators of the prairies. Now, these tower structures in rural areas across Canada, they're starting to disappear. They're often burned to the ground or they're torn to pieces and dumped in landfills. But some people are pushing to preserve the history of these old buildings. Dane Patterson has that story.
Wooden grain elevators like these in Kenniston are the skyscrapers of rural towns. At least they were. Two of the town's 3 skyscrapers are coming down, but they'll live on elsewhere. Inside this elevator rests outdated machinery and wood that's been worn into art.
And you can see the sculpting. If you look at the shape of that, you can see the natural grain sculpting.
The company ABMT Wood Solutions is looking to save most or all of the wood from these elevators. It's a delicate process, unlike the alternative. Alvin Herman's first project was tearing down this century-old elevator he owned in Milden, Saskatchewan. It was a liability, but he didn't want it to end up in the landfill.
I just found myself allergic to the demolition and burning and, polluting the environment. I thought there's real salvage there.
Holding on to the now obsolete elevators is a burden that's either passed down the family tree or to the town. They cost thousands annually to maintain and tens of thousands more to demolish. But ABMT recognizes the elevators are made with timber that is difficult to get your hands on. It's ideal for decorative work or construction. The massive pieces can be used for mezzanine or dance floors or new housing.
So this wall behind me, this is a nail laminated mass timber wall. So imagine the whole wall cut out, and then it's you add insulation to it, and then you have, let's say, 10 of those panels that are now used to reconstruct a home. So the house can be put up in panels, kind of like I guess like a Lego kit.
ABMT is working on a residential 3-bedroom show home with those panels now. It's quicker, affordable, cuts back on deforestation, and has a low carbon footprint. In the future, you may be standing or dancing on a wood floor that once reached for the sky. Dane Patterson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Beautiful. So neat to see people looking to preserve something so iconic. If you think threading a needle is challenging, then take a look at this. That is Spanish daredevil Danny Roman performing a high-speed aerial stunt. My blood is pumping just watching this footage. The wingsuit pilot can be seen flying through the main arch of Puente Nuevo in Andalusia. Aiming himself through the narrow gap under the ancient arch was only half the battle. Roman still had to glide high enough to safely deploy his parachute. It has taken months of preparation to carry out this high-risk feat. Roman, who comes from that part of Spain, says he always wanted to do this. Watching his feet land and hit the ground, I think we all took a collective sigh of relief. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can find all the details on how to donate for our Sounds of the Season campaign there as well. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for watching and have a great night.